Hey guys, WantClue here. I hope all of you are doing really well and having a really great day. It is time again for an update. Today we want to release the version 2.8.0 for your Bitaxe. So let's get started and right into it. As you can see, we are used to this screen. This is GitHub and we're taking a look on the version 2.8.0, which does improve plenty of things when it comes to the API, the UI. We have bug fixes and enhancements for the hardware and display. So stick with me because we want to go over all of these changes and show you what we have done, what the past month brought to us, and what we will finally release to you because it's working and it's just awesome. So first things first, we do have API enhancements. For example, we added the expected hash rate now to the API, which has been done by JP.coms. Thanks for doing that. As well as that the dashboard has now the expected hash rate from the API and no longer from other components, which is an enhancement and improvement when it comes to this. Now, if you're taking a look on the UI and UX, we do have plenty of new things in there. We have a new toast, which is this pop-up in the right bottom corner, which tells you what's going on. Previously, you have seen if you saved some settings that it popped up and told you save settings successful, something like that. Now there's also a warning for the restart and other things as well, introduced by Bitaxe. Thanks for doing that. We also have a show restart warning only for relevant fields, also by Bitaxe. Thanks for doing that. As well as we have a added amount of active devices to the Swarm page, as well by him again. So this is just amazing. You do see his name will pop up lately really often. He's doing some incredible work on it, and it's just awesome to have him here on this repository. He also did a little bit of fixing when it comes to the Swarm sorting. So now this should be even more clear and more intuitive to you guys. There's also a nice new touch to it. Now we do have the remember menu toggle state, which means on the left hand side you do have this menu bar and you can toggle it to on or off, so it will show it or even not, and this will be remembered even through a restart. So if you have put it off and the sidebar is not shown to you and you restart the device, it's still not shown to you because it remembers this state. There's also an expand logs feature now, which was a request from a user on GitHub, and this has been implemented. So now your logs can be even further being expanded, which is just nice to have, especially for these tech nerds under you that are looking into that and trying to stare on what's going on there. We also have the Wi-Fi RSSI, which has now been shown on the logs overview as well. So this is awesome to have here in it as well. We do have now a display timeout slider, which gives you the option to slide how many minutes you want to have your display been online or shown, and after what kind of minutes you want your display to go into the sleep mode, because obviously if you're having your Bitaxe on your night desk and you're sleeping next to it because you do believe it will find the next block in the next 5 minutes before you go to sleep, then it's a nice touch if you can actually make sure that the screen goes off automatically and does not burn into it. Because these OLED screens, they do have this feature that if you show the same content over a period amount of time, it will slowly burn into the screen. So with that, this should be fixed and is a nice add-on to the Bitaxe in general. There is also now a message update when it comes to new firmware releases by STS Miner. Thanks for doing that. So a little bit more information for you what's going on with new firmware releases. We also now have a pools visual separation, which is awesome because now in the settings page, and by the way, you will see this in just a minute because today I tried to show you both versions at the same time, so the old version and the new version, so that you visually see what has changed and you can decide if you want to upgrade. Obviously, I always recommend you guys to upgrade because these updates that we do bring out are either enhancing the functionality or making the device even more stable. So it's always a nice thing to have here. And the pool card overview has been updated visually and also fixed on a couple other things as well there. There's also now a new FUF icon. I will show you what this is in just a second. It's so amazing and I love to see it in here. There's also a new pool added to the quick links, the brains pool. Obviously I don't use it, but some people do, and if you like, now it's in the quick links as well. We do have a couple of bug fixes. The first one is the fixed stratum pass if there's no error field by Mutatrum. This is some specific bug fixes here when it comes to how Stratum is been handled on the device. Stratum is the communication protocol that your Bitaxe uses to communicate with a pool. Even if it is your pool that you do run on your Umbrel or your Start9 node at home, you'll need some sort of a protocol to communicate with it and tell the pool, hey, give me some new work, I need something to mine on. And hey, I got an answer, make sure to check it if this is maybe the next block. That's the Stratum protocol, and there were a couple of improvements on the error fields, which is really awesome. We also have a fix for the scientific notation and the best session difficulty by Mutatrum, which is nice in here as well. We also have a fixed broken text scroll animation for the self-test, which was, if you ever have taken a look into the self-tests, this device checks itself if everything is working. This is a functionality that usually manufacturers do use to make sure that the device does work and all the features, the ASIC, the display, everything is working. And there was an error with the scroll animation, and now this has been fixed. There's also an adjustment to the diff string to .2 by me, which is a adjustment when it comes to the screen. Previously, there were too many numbers on the screen. Let's say you do have a difficulty found of 128,128 and your best difficulty was 128,128. Then you would have a very long string on your display. And with the tiny SSD 1306 display, it might be that it was not able to display all of it, and therefore some of it was cut off. So I reduced it to only show the last 2 digits of a number. We also have a fix when it comes to the hash rate y-axis tick color, which is awesome. Now you have a better visual separation between what is my temperature and what is my hash rate on the hash rate graph. And we do have a fix for the self-test power consumption target for the 402 and 403 by Mutatrum, which was initially introduced by Benjamin. So this goes to Benjamin, but Mutatrum made sure to push it into the right commit here, which is great. We also do have a couple other self-test fixes by Mutatrum. Let's go over to new enhancements when it comes to the hardware and the display. The first thing is we have now support for multiple different displays. So now you do have the option to swap out your display to something like the SH1107 or the SSD1309. And if you want to make sure what these kind of displays are, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out, because I'm making some dedicated videos about these larger screens or these different looking screens. But in general, we do have these 2 new screens introduced with this firmware, and with that introduced into the firmware, we are also making sure that we move ahead to new other screens as well and improve just the convenience of using your Bitaxe. There are also a couple of PID improvements by me, which is the fan controller with the version 2.7.1 and 2.7.2. You were able to actually set a temperature target such as 60 degrees, and your Bitaxe tries to make sure that it does stick with this temperature, and it lowers or increases the speed of your fan depending on how hot your Bitaxe is. It works well for a couple people. It doesn't work really that great with a couple others, depending on your environment. If you're living in a hot area, this might probably be not the best idea. You might just want to use 100% fan speed all the time. But for a couple others, me included, this is an awesome feature, and I just improved it a little bit better. So when your Bitaxe now starts up and it does not have any connection or anything else, so the first start basically, it always sticks to 70% fan speed to make sure that if your device was running previously is just hot, you don't actually want your device to overheat. And for this scenario, there is an improvement in this. And the first 20 seconds of your Bitaxe that it is running, it tries to increase the fan speed even quicker, and afterwards it slows down and goes back to an even smoother curve of making sure to apply to the current temperature that has been going on your Bitaxe. We also do have a couple of fixes when it comes to the EMC2101 and the EMC2103. These are the tiny components on the back of your Bitaxe that are actually controlling your fans, and the EMC2101 is the component that we do use on all Bitaxe models currently, and the EMC2103 is the component that we will use on the Bitaxe GT, the Gamma Turbo, which will feature 2 chips, and this will make sure, this fix that I introduced there will make sure that the code is just a little bit better readable and thus represent errors and some returns better. So it's an improvement for codability in the future, and it fixed the bug there. We also do have a fix for the display configuration, which is just a one-line change, nothing really important here. We also have a offset for the GT, so you do see there are more improvements coming onto this repository explicitly for the Bitaxe GT, which will be introduced shortly. Furthermore, do we have a remove of external offsets and a better readability in general for how these offsets are been applied to the devices. We've moved away from having code spread all over the places, and now we try to make sure that everything that is hardware specific configuration for devices is in one major file called device config, which has been introduced by Mutatrum, and it's just awesome to use it and expand of it, because now you no longer need to apply changes to like 20 different files. Everything is just in one file, and from there on you can make sure that it does work. We also do have an EMC temperature offset, should be in the device config. Yeah, that's what I just talked about, the device config. The temperature offset has been moved into that. When it comes to performance and compilation, we have added the 02 compilation for this, which means it brings a couple of improvements in general for the ESP32. First and foremost is it does have a little bit faster execution speed. So the 02 compilation does improve how quick the speed of executions can be done on this device. Also, like, these are general things. There is a little bit of code size decreasement. With 02 compilation, the code will be not as big as previously, which is great because it also this way improves a little bit on power efficiency for the device if the CPU does not need to be that long active. But yeah, basically that's it about this compilation thingy. We also do have an updated version for the CSC calculations by mechanics, which has been introduced by Frontport, so thanks for doing that. Let's go over. We do have something new and awesome, which is called statistics and data. We now do have a task which stores previously chart data, introduced by TerraTech. Thank you for doing that. It has been requested by so many people because it's already on your NerdX and NerdQX and what else, but we have missed this on the Bitaxe and now it's finally here. It still does need a couple of improvements, but the first version that we do have is awesome and it works really great. We do have also improvement when it comes to the code quality and refactoring. We have a little bit of device model cleanup by Mutatrum, which also introduced the device configuration list, which was a huge thing. He worked weeks on it and it took us days to actually make sure that we can review it. So that was really a nice thing to do here. Props to you, Mutatrum. Thanks for doing that. We also do have a little bit of cleanup when it comes to the NVS Wi-Fi credentials code, which is awesome. Also, we have a little bit of simplification when it comes to the Swarm best difficulty compare. We also do have a couple of improvements when it comes to SCSS and HTML files by DuckX. Thanks for doing that. And also some refactoring when it comes to the font embedding. Also, we do have reduction of duplicated code, which is always good because if you have removals more than you have addings to your code, it's a great thing to do. We also have some other removals of unnecessary code. We have some fixes when it comes to inconsistent function namings. And last but not least, we also have some adding for missing declaration in some code here. So we do have 4 new contributors. We have JP Coms, we have DuckX, STS Miner, and Frontport. All of you, it's awesome to have you on board. It's awesome that you contributed to this code. Thanks for doing that. And now I do think it's finally time to go over and take a look on how the new UI looks. Shall we? Let's go. So first things first, what can we see here? The left side is a Bitaxe Gamma running on the version 2.7.1, and the right version here, the right Bitaxe, is also a Gamma running on the version 2.8.0. The first thing that we do see, it kind of looks the same, but on the right hand side, on the new version, we do see now the actual hash rate that we do have is been shown in the same color as everything else. If you go to customization, you can change it to something else like blue, and now this is shown in blue. And if we do wait a second, we also do see that now we have a little bit of historical data, which is awesome. I will dive into this in just a second because this new feature is awesome to see and awesome to have in here. So let's go over to Swarm on both of these devices and let's take a look on what we can see here. First things first, obviously, on the left hand side we see there are some timeouts. This is normal because I have just put off a couple other devices. On the right hand side we do get all these devices, and you do see they are actually sorted by the IP address. This was kind of the same on the old version, but now it's working more properly and even better. We also do have these new tabs here, and you do see it's no longer cut off like on the left hand side. If I would reduce it, it might be cut off on a couple of points, but here on the right hand side it isn't, and it's just great. And here the best difficulty, we have the total power consumption, we also have the total hash rate, and a new thing, the total devices, which is just nice to have here. Let's go over to network on both of them. Nothing really has changed here. Now when it comes to the pool settings, if you take a look on the new version and the old version is basically everything cluttered together, and in the new version there's this slight separation between the primary pool and the fallback pool, which is just nice to have. And I really need to say it is awesome because this gives you a better visual appearance of what's going on there. And by the way, also all these screens have been improved so that if you do have different screen sizes, it will be shown properly to your display size, and it will also make sure to adjust to the display size that you actually do have, which was sort of the case previously, but it has been improved, which is the great thing here. Let's hop over to settings. We will just skip customization because there were no changes, and settings is really a huge change that we do have there. So first things first, on the left hand side is the old version, on the right hand side the new version. The first thing that actually comes up to our mind here is, okay, frequency looks the same, core voltage looks the same. I do have the automatic fan control, but the flip screen, that has been moved. It's now a little bit further down, and from the point of the target temperature, everything is the same. If you now take a look, we have a new section called display. In here you have the option to actually make sure to select the screen that you want to use. The SSD 1306 will always be used if you do freshly install your Bitaxe, or if you use the factory file to flash your Bitaxe. The SSD 1309 is a bigger screen. You do see the height is basically doubled when it comes to the pixels, and this screen is currently running on my Bitaxe. I will show this in another video, so make sure you're subscribed to this channel and don't miss out on this one. As well as the SH1107, which comes in two different orientations or two different pixel versions, the 64x128 and the 128x128 pixel version. We also have the invert screen functionality here, which basically flips it around. Also, a new thing here is statistics. It might be a little bit confusing to a couple of you, but generally it will be improved in newer versions. As always, things are improving, and a couple of users already reported that this might be a little bit confusing. So we do have two sliders. One is for how many data points do we want to store, and one is for how long do we want to store them. I usually set this to 24 hours and 180 data points because I think that's just nice to have like 180 previously data points. Obviously, this depends if your device is running 24/7. If it is not running 24/7, then it doesn't store these data points if they are like 3 days old or something like that. The next thing is, if you take a look on the current version, we do see I'm running version 2.8.0, and if I click on check, this will do a check here, and if I click on the check here, so nothing really on this end has changed. The update website and update firmware is also the same here. Now to a new cool feature when this comes to the logs page. So we do have the real-time logs here, and if I do click on hide, if I do click on show logs, I can see what's going on here. What I can also do is I can maximize these logs. So now you have only the logs on your screen, nothing else. Let's minimize them as well. I do think that's an awesome feature and I'm really happy to see it. Last but not least, we want to go back to the dashboard on both of these devices. And here the hash rate will pick up in just a second. You do see these previously data points have now been introduced. It just sometimes takes a little bit before these data points actually come up. If we click on restart on both of them, it should show you this message in the bottom right corner. If we go over to settings and we do swap, for example, the frequency to something a little bit lower, it will show you this one. But if I do flip the screen and save it, it will give you a warning that you need to restart your device for these changes to actually take effect. So I'll put it back into what it was previously. And with that, I do think we have a nice new update, plenty new features, awesome stuff that's in there, awesome new developers coming into this community. I'm really pleased for this. I'm really thankful for everybody who was contributing to this release. Thank you for doing that. Keep up the good work. Keep hashing. See you next time.